Carly, I just had a look at my phone. Did my mom really have to be taken to the hospital?
George, you finally started replying to me? Why did it take you so long to look at your phone? I tried calling and texting you so many times already, right?
I was in the middle of a very long meeting, all right? Because of all your calls, I ended up having to step out for a second to mute my phone. And that caused me to miss some very important information for next week. So, how's my mom doing right now?
I'm sorry about that. As for your mom, for the time being, what's happened with her isn't life-threatening.
I see. Then I can calm down a little.
But from here on out, I don't think things are going to be getting any easier. I was told by the doctors that her body won't be able to move like it used to before. And over time, things might start to become more and more difficult for her, like picking up heavy things and getting up out of bed.
So what you're telling me is that she won't be able to return to her normal lifestyle?
Yes. With the way things are for her now, I don't think there's any going back to the way she was before. If she doesn't have any help, she won't be able to go to the bathroom or take a bath. I don't think she's ever going to be able to live on her own again, George.
Is that so?
What should we do about her? Neither of us ever thought something this serious would be happening to her as well. In the coming months, we're going to have to make some very difficult decisions regarding her.
Well, there's nothing we can really do about that, huh? You'll just have to start taking care of her for me and be around the house even more often.
Wait, you want me to? Remember that we also have your dad who isn't able to get out of his bed at all. I can't start taking care of both your mom and dad for you.
Mom's not going to be glued to her bed, right? That means while you're taking care of my dad, you can watch over my mom and help her with the 1 or 2 things she needs per day. This was the whole reason we started living with my parents, right? To take care of them as they got older? We have to do the same thing for my mom now that we've been doing for my dad. It's not like things are going to change much now that you have 2 people to take care of, right?
Please don't say such ridiculous things. With the way things have been at home so far, I haven't really been able to get any sleep for myself. If I have to care for 2 people at once, I'm going to pass out.
Then what do you think we should do? Because to me, that looks like our only option right now.
Do you think we can put one of your parents into an elderly home? Or maybe even both of them together? That way they wouldn't have to be lonely going into a place like that.
Huh? Don't start talking about nonsense like that. You think I'm putting either of my parents into one of those homes?
Why can't you? It's not that crazy of an idea, I think.
Putting your parents into an old folks' home is the same thing as throwing them away. Could you really do something so embarrassing to us?
How would putting one or both of them into a place that can take better care of them be embarrassing? We have to do it at some point, George. I may be able to help them both with things like getting around the house, eating, going to the bathroom, and so on, but I have no clue what to do when one of them has a major medical emergency. Even this time, when your mom collapsed, I didn't know what she needed as quick as I should have, and that's why someone like a nurse would have been a lot better watching over them.
But by putting my parents into a home like that, you would be embarrassing me. People would start to think I'm the type of cold-hearted son that abandons his own parents. Everyone in my family would hate me for it. So I will not allow either of my parents to end up in a home.
Who cares what other people say? Most people will never understand how tough situations like the one we're in now can be. Also, there are plenty of people in this exact same situation who have chosen to move their parents to some place where they'll be better off.
I said no to it, so that means no. Do you really feel like embarrassing me that badly?
I'm not trying to embarrass you in any way, but it's been me taking care of your dad this whole time. Are you trying to force me to work to death also that you can protect that insignificant honor of yours?
What was that? Are you saying that something like sacrificing your free time for my parents is not worth it? You really are a cold-hearted woman, aren't you? No wonder you're able to talk about putting my parents into an old folks' home so lightheartedly.
George, don't start trying to pick a fight now. I don't want us to start picking one another apart because of this stress. I'm just trying to tell you that having to push myself beyond my own limits to take care of both your parents is not a good way of doing things. I can't be the only one thinking this right now. Actually, I feel really bad that your parents aren't being given the option to go to an experienced old folks' home.
You're only feeling bad because you're not putting in the effort to care for them more. Anyhow, we will not be putting my parents into any kind of home. Now you go home and get things ready for my mom to come home and be taken care of by you. This conversation is over now, so be quiet and do as I've said.
Your mom only has a little bit of time left. The doctor is saying that you and I need to prepare for the worst. Right now, the doctor's doing what they can to care for her and make her comfortable, but they're not certain she'll be around too much longer.
I see. It hasn't even been 2 years since my dad passed away, right? I never expected my mom to be passing away so soon, too.
We were all very shocked when your dad took his last breath that day. I think he was just exhausted of having to stick around, and that's what led to his passing. And ever since then, your mom's conditions have only worsened.
I was really thinking those two would be around at least a few more years with us.
I was as well. Well, now that you're aware of the current situation, would you please start coming home? I don't want you out there feeling like you're all alone, and considering this will be your last chance to see your mom, you should be around us. I'll make sure to give you as much time and attention as you need.
I'm sorry, but that's just not going to happen. I have a lot of work to manage still.
Can't you ask one of your bosses to give you just a bit more time on all that stuff? This is your mom we're talking about here. Would you really be willing to let your mom live her last moments without you at her side?
I really do want to be there to look after her and all, but right now this work that I have to do is more important than anything. So there is no easy way for me to get a few days off.
But this is your mom, George. There shouldn't be anything more important than your own family, than your own mother, right?
I have to keep working in order to afford for my mom to have a really nice funeral. If I don't have the money to pay, then I won't be able to honor her in a way she deserves. I would like for her to have a really beautiful casket and have the decorations be all kinds of exotic flowers.
I understand how you're feeling right now.
Also, if she really is on her last leg, then I have a lot to prepare for elsewhere. And the funeral is the most important thing to think about. I really have to make sure she has a great one.
Do you want me to help?
I want you to help with all of it, actually. That's your job, to handle all of that, actually. I'm the one that has to work outside the house and make sure we have money.
Understood. But at the very least, could you make sure not to stay too late every night and come home to be with me? I don't want to be in this house all alone right now.
My mom is there with you, right?
No, she isn't. She's at the hospital right now because she has to be hooked up to all sorts of machines, so I really am at home all by myself right now.
Why do you hate being home all alone anyway?
I just don't have a good feeling about things right now, and this house is making me depressed.
Huh? How is the house making you depressed? You've been living in that house normally all this time, and just now it's starting to make you feel depressed?
Before this, your mom said something very strange to me. It was like she was chanting a curse or a spell or something. I'm not sure what all she was saying then, but ever since I heard that, I've been feeling off. And if I have to be honest, I don't like it in this house anymore. And being by myself here is the worst feeling ever.
You're acting like a 5-year-old now, you brat. She was just talking in her sleep or something, right? You told me before that my mom had recently become pretty weak mentally and was talking nonsense quite often. So stop imagining things and pull yourself together.
But I'm not lying when I say things have been pretty depressing here, right? I'm aware of it very much, and being here alone is not helping me feel any better.
Maybe you've just been in the house so much lately that you're getting bored. If you don't get up and move a bit more, you're gonna feel lethargic and sad. How about you go outside for a bit and pull some weeds for once? Ever since my mom became sick, she hasn't been tending to her garden, so it's filled with all kinds of crap now.
I don't have time for that right now.
Anyway, there's nothing you need to be worried about right now. I've lived in that house far longer than you, and all that time nothing strange was happening there, and I came out just fine, right? By having me there, you're not going to be changing anything either. So just relax and get back to preparing for what's to come.
I just finished up all the paperwork at the courthouse, so in a little bit I'll be coming home.
Thanks for that. Ever since my mom's funeral ended, we've finally been able to get some well-needed rest.
That's very true. But there's still a lot of stuff you and I need to take care of.
We have to start working on cleaning up the house now, too. In order to start our new lives together, you and I need to clean the whole place out and organize all of our things.
That's a good point. There's a ton of stuff to go through there, so we have to keep going a little bit longer. We also have to talk about the inheritance. When we have a chance, let's you and I go to the lawyer and talk with him about it.
No, you don't have to come. We'll make sure to handle all that stuff.
What? What do you mean we'll handle all of the inheritance stuff?
I'm talking about my new wife and I. We'll make sure to deal with all of the inheritance.
Huh? What are you saying right now?
Mom and Dad are both dead now, which means I no longer have any use for you anymore. I want to marry someone else now, so please, divorce me. I've already decided that I'm going to have a brand new wife now, so there's nothing you can do to stop this.
George, have you been cheating on me? You were always forcing me to be home and caring for your parents like I was a tool to you. And you were using that time to go out with another woman? Just waiting for them both to die so that you could then get rid of me?
That's right. That's why I want you to hurry up and get out of my house. I just need you to get all of your things together and get out of that house for me, please. And make that happen as quick as possible.
You have to be lying right now. I can't believe this. I'm so happy.
What? You're so happy?
I am. I have been waiting for years to hear those words come out of your mouth.
What do you mean you've been waiting for years?
I've been wanting to leave that terrible house for so long now. That's why I am filled with joy now to hear you wanting me out of that place.
What? So you've been wanting me to leave you?
I have. I knew that we'd have a lot of work to do cleaning up the house after your parents passed away, and that made me wonder when the best time would be to leave. But hearing you tell me now that I can go, I am just over the moon with happiness. And the fact that I don't even have to help clean up the mess really helps me out a lot.
Why have you been wanting to leave that house and me? You've been my housewife this whole time, so there's no way you can take care of yourself on your own. Or could this mean you've had another man on your mind?
I never had any time to think about other men, right? And there was never a moment where I was able to leave the house for more than 20 minutes, so I never had any affairs. You seem to be the only unfaithful person here. Now, if you would just think of why I've been wanting this, you'd have the answer. For a long time now, you have made my life such a living hell. Therefore, I need to get out.
Are you saying me asking you to take care of my parents was a living hell? Taking care of the husband's parents is what every wife has to do.
That's not the only reason I wanted to leave, but you would never be able to understand how I felt. Now, before I leave your life forever and am free, make sure to pay up. You owe me money now for having cheated on me, and there's also the splitting of our properties in the divorce. And if you're going to tell me you won't, don't worry, because I've already got myself a lawyer who will make you pay up. You just told me a second ago that you've had another woman, right? So I have a right now to a settlement for having been cheated on.
Oh, is that right? If I give you the money you want, you won't hang around anymore and will get out of my life, right?
Of course. Once I have that money, which I'm entitled to, I'll be out of your face in a second. Actually, if you don't give me any of the money I deserve, then I won't be able to move out of the house as soon as you'd like. I will also have to start looking for a job as well to make my own income with.
I get it. I'll get both the money for the settlement and the divorce ready and have it to you in a bit. So hurry up and get lost.
Understood. Thank you so much, George. Luckily, I don't have a lot of things to begin with, so I should have all my things together here soon. And then I can be out of your hair forever. Things like my bags and everything have all been taken away from the house now, so I'll be moving out as well. Have a good one, George.
You really made quick work of getting out of that house. He also had that divorce paperwork handed in quicker than I was thinking.
Did you think that I was going to throw it away or something?
Well, just a little bit.
I've already gotten the money from you, and there's not an ounce of love left in me for you. Also, I'm not even thinking about how you feel. I have to worry about my life now. I'll be living with my parents for a little bit here, but I need to find a place to move to and a job.
And as for myself, I'm heading to the courthouse tomorrow to get married to my new woman. And from there, her and I'll be living in that house.
Please do whatever you want without telling me about it. I have nothing to do with you anymore, so please leave me out of your life. Ah, and now that you'll have a new wife, make sure you actually take good care of her this time. I'm sure things will be hard for the both of you going forward, so treat her with some kind of affection. Now, as for you and your new wife, good luck with paying off all that debt.
Debt? What debt are you talking about?
You don't even know what I'm talking about? While your parents were around for their last couple of years, the both of them ended up creating a lot of debt.
Huh? What the hell are you going on about? I have no clue about any of that.
And that's because you never gave a damn about your parents and the house. Of course you wouldn't know about this.
Are you being serious right now?
Very serious, George. If you just took a few minutes to look into your parents, you'd know what I'm talking about.
Since when have they had any debt, Carly?
It's been years now that they started to get into said debt. Just like I said, you were always using your parents' Social Security, right? And then when you should have been handing some of it to us, you never ever did. So there was no way for them to pay things off, like their medical bills and the cost of living in that house.
Why didn't you tell me anything? If you knew there was debt, then you should have told me.
I don't think that you were unaware of it that whole time. I assume you knew the debt was a problem, but just didn't care about it.
You knew that I had no clue they were getting into debt, but you chose to stay quiet and screw me over, right? Now I know why you really wanted out of my house and out of my life. I was wondering why you were acting so weird.
I already had to sacrifice years of my life to taking care of both your parents all day and night, so I did not want to have to start paying off their debts for you next.
But you can't just keep quiet about something like that and never tell me a thing. What the hell am I supposed to do now?
If you don't want to take on your parents' debt, then tell the lawyer that you don't want to inherit anything from them.
I see. That's something I can do. That means I wouldn't have to pay off any of their debt, right?
That's correct. But if you do that, then you won't be given access to any of their properties, including the house, and it will all go towards paying off the remaining debt.
If I can't have the house, then I'll be in trouble. Do you have any idea how valuable the house is to me?
Then you are going to have to think about what is more important to you. If I were you, though, I'd give up the house to avoid all of their debt. I'm sure that having a free house is great, but not when it comes with more debt than the house is actually worth.
Can you tell me how much debt they have that needs to be paid off?
At least $20,000 that needs to be paid this year.
What? That's all they have? You really are such an idiot. I'd choose the house and take that debt, no questions asked. That house might not be the most valuable, but the land it's on is worth at least $100,000. I would never be able to let that house and its land go. Not for a measly $20,000 worth of debt.
You sure? You still have time to talk with the lawyer and tell him you don't want anything from your parents. So are you really going to throw away that chance and take everything they've left behind?
Of course I am. This is land that has been passed down from generation to generation in my family we're talking about. I would never ever give it up out of some fear that $20,000 worth of debt would end me. I'm sure you were trying to scare me the best you could right there, but it didn't work.
Why would you think I was trying to scare you there?
Stop playing dumb. I know that you're trying to get back at me for kicking you out of the house and my life. You were just trying to ruin my day by saying all of that. I know it. You really think that a man of my kind would be crushed by $20,000 worth of debt?
Is that right? Well then, if you think $20,000 isn't too bad at all for you, go ahead and take the house and everything. I don't have any desire to live back inside that house or keep any of what your parents left.
You can stop acting like a sore loser, okay? Idiots like you could just shut up and leave me alone. Well, it's not like you and I'll ever see or talk to one another again after this. This is it, right? If you ever find yourself in a tough spot, don't even bother crying to me about it.
The same goes for you as well. If anything happens with you that you need help with, don't come crying to me about it. Now, goodbye forever.
Yo, it's me, George. Did you know all about this?
What's that? Oh, long time no see. What's happened with you?
I'm talking about the problem with this house. You knew about this all along, didn't you?
It's been a whole year now since we last talked, so you're going to have to be a little bit more detailed about what you're saying. Please explain everything to me from start to end.
You've known about how all of the land that this house resides on is completely polluted, right? Because of that, this house's value and this land's value have plummeted. Not a single person wants to buy it off of me, and actually I'm not legally able to even sell it.
So the land is polluted? This is the first time I'm ever hearing about that.
Stop acting like you don't know exactly what I'm talking about. You knew all about how this land was no good, and that's why you ran away from me when you did.
Is the pollution on that land really that bad right now?
I called and asked to see if the land could be saved and have all the pollution cleaned out of it, but all the surveying teams have said it's impossible. But all of that surveying cost me a lot of money to do. So now I'm in even more debt, and the only thing I learned is that the pollution is too bad right now and spreading.
That's a really tough situation you found yourself in then. Unfortunately, I'm not an environmental engineer or anything, so I have no idea what to do there.
Stop lying to me.
So you think I should know? The only thing I can say is that before leaving, I felt there was something wrong with that house. But I never connected that to the land being completely polluted. Now I can start to see why I was feeling so off there.
What are you talking about? Explain to me right now what you do know about this pollution.
You don't remember anything I mentioned a while back? I told you that the house was making me depressed and that I didn't like being there, right? And about how your mom started to say these strange chants and whatnot, which only made things worse.
Why are you bringing up all of that bull crap again? My mom did not curse the house, and she was not speaking gibberish like you think.
Normally, I'm sure that would be the case. But what I'm saying is that for a long time, the house has been in sort of a really sorry state that even left your mom feeling more ill than she originally was. And close to the time I moved out of there, all of the plants and such outside started to die, and soon the grass did as well. There were no more bugs around, and most of the squirrels stopped coming into the yard. And if that's not enough evidence for you, both of your parents started to get really sick the longer they stuck around that house, right? I'm not saying that was caused by the pollution in the yard, but perhaps your mom has been cursing that house the whole time, and we just never noticed it in time.
You're saying that the pollution played a role in my mom and dad getting that sick?
Like I said, I'm sure that's not the case, but there's a very high chance it was the reason for their sickness. Before you and I moved in with them, your mom always loved to work out in the yard, right? She was always using the faucet out there that came from the well water, right? Actually, it was only that outdoor faucet water that still came from the well.
So you're saying she became that sick because of the water she was using and maybe even drinking?
I'm just saying there's a high chance is all. But what I want to know is why the yard is that badly polluted in the first place. I'm sure if you can find out whoever was polluting that yard there, you could sue them and get all the money you need, right?
There's no way I can sue them. The reason this land is so badly polluted is because of my own family. My family buried a lot of old pesticides and herbicides in the ground years and years ago that were said to be terrible for people's health. That's the reason this yard is so polluted now.
Damn, you have some very bad family members then. Or had, I should say.
My wife even left because she said she doesn't want to live on polluted land anymore. And after trying to get those surveyors to help me out, I wasted even more money. And that ended with not a single person or company being able to help me. If something like this was going to happen, I would have been better off not taking the house and debt.
Had you listened to what I was saying before, none of this would have happened to you. All you had to do was take what I was saying a little bit more seriously, and then you would have known that the land was polluted. But it's far too late to think about any of that now, right?
I think you and I never spent enough time talking to one another, did we? I'm sorry about that. I should have spent more time with you and listened.
What? I'm honestly surprised by what you said just then. I never thought that the day would come that you'd say you're sorry to me.
I understand that what I'm saying is very ridiculous of me now, but do you think that you could come back to me?
If you knew something like that was going to sound so ridiculous, please don't say it.
But listen, I know now that you're the only woman for me. So please, give me one last chance to be your husband and treat you right. I know that I haven't said this yet, but I still have a lot of feelings for you.
Stop that right now, George. I know you're only wanting me back now because you lost that new wife of yours, right? I'm sorry, but I have a new man in my life now and a new world ahead of me. He is very close to me, and I think I might just marry him.
What? But it hasn't even been a year yet, right? You've already found yourself a new man?
That's because I completely forgot about you right after we got that divorce. The moment you were out of my head, I found myself someone far better.
What the hell, Carly? There hasn't been enough time for something like that to happen.
I'm not going to take that from a man that got married the day after he got a divorce.
I am so sorry. I made a huge mistake.
We all know that you made a huge mistake. I was the one that not only had to take care of your parents for you, but I also had to take care of you and myself. What were you doing all that time? I thought you threw me away because I was no longer any use to you. And you said you had a new woman with you and were getting married. You really think anyone is going to want to get back together with you after doing that?
And right now I feel sorry about literally everything I did back then. I am so very sorry, Carly. So please do something to help me. You are the only person I have left now.
What are you going on about now, George? I thought we both agreed that no matter how tough our lives became, we were not going to run back crying to one another. Right? So please stop crying to me about your piss-poor life right now. And it's not like there's anything I can do for you now anyway. You don't have any more parents for me to take care of there now, so I would have no reason for going back in that house. After that, having taken on so much debt to the point he could no longer borrow any more money, George had to suck it up and keep living in that old house on that polluted land. And then, not too many years later, George came down with the same sickness his mom and dad both passed away from. He was still young, but was in need of care from someone else. But because he lived with no one else, he was forced to be admitted into a recovery house where he would be cared for by volunteers while he tried to battle said sickness. He didn't have the money to put himself into anywhere that was really that great, so his life there consisted of him getting IVs put in by students in training, which was very painful at times for him. I don't hear much else about him anymore, but I do know that he will most likely never get out of that place and will end up dying there. And the only reason I'm saying that about him is because the sickness he has, that both of his parents passed away from as well, has a 100% lethality rate and cannot be cured. So no matter how much the doctors try and comfort him into thinking he'll be all right, there's no stopping the fate he set for himself now, and it'll only be a matter of time. The house that he had to leave, which is still sitting on that polluted land, has had nothing done to it. It's not able to be sold by any of the realtors in the area, and since the land is so polluted, it's impossible for it to be used commercially. Which means it will sit on that land until it collapses, I presume. Although I did take one drive by it the other day, and there was a sign out front saying not to enter the property. I'm going to assume that if it's not standing there in a couple of years, that the city is doing something about that land, and hopefully the future won't be as corrupted by it. That house has committed a lot of crimes. George's family has committed a lot of crimes. They both ended up killing 3 people while also causing 2 divorces. And it makes a lot more sense now why George's mom was cursing the place and wanted out of it so badly. As for what happened with me, I went to a class reunion and ran into one of my old friends that I had a crush on, and things took off from there. He was divorced as well when we started to date, and so within a couple of months of dating, we got married. It's been a few years now since our wedding, and we have 2 kids that keep us company. I was pretty much in my mid-40s when I had both of them, but they both came out healthy, so my husband and I are both very, very thankful. I was concerned about what that pollution might have done to me and what it could have done to my babies, but thankfully I think they're both safe. I did do a bit of yard work while I was at that house, but not much. However, I have noticed some days where I feel fatigued and not like I should be, and after a recent checkup, I was told to be more careful about what I consume and such, to make sure my body stays the healthiest it can. I don't like to think that the pollution has anything to do with this, but there's always the possibility that it does. And if that's the case, I only hope my future isn't as disastrous as George's. My current husband is a very wealthy man as well, but was not spoiled when he was younger, so he's very much willing to help out around the house and with the kids. Ever since divorcing George, my life has been filled with joy and nothing else. I can finally feel what it's like to be a free woman again, and what it's like to be a wife who is loved and looked after. And I think the reason for why all of this was able to happen without even one drawback is because I left the house right after George told me to get out, and because I cut out all of my feelings for him right then and there. Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought of the story. We look forward to seeing you at the next story.